What's cool is both of y'all in different capacity have been able to travel and experience different cities and fan bases if it's music or sports. Mm-hmm. And I know you play for different squads, but you'll always be an Eagle, whether you love it or hate it. You know, that's the reality, especially since you live here. So I'll ask both of you the same question. Ab, let's start. Mm-hmm. Do you think Philadelphia gets misrepresented when you're out and about and dealing with different fan bases and going to different cities and you know, international too, from when you've been touring?
You know, it's funny, like, I'll be in different cities and people hear I'm from Philly and they're like, oh man, because they know how hard we ride for our teams. And, you know, I think it's a little misconception that, you know, we be over the top, but that's that passion, that's that love, that's that we want to show the world how good it is here and how we rally behind our teams and whatnot. So I don't mind them thinking.
Right. Because it's almost not even a misconception, right? As Q said earlier, like, that's Philly. Yeah. You were at the game, and but it's not like we're not throwing batteries at you. You know, you're not getting beat up. There's not routine violence that's happening. It's just we give you shit. Yeah. And we like to needle, right. Especially when we win.
Maybe lick a little horse manure while we're at it, right? You know?
I think that, now to be fair, I think, and listen, let me open up a can, but I think we can be sore losers at times.
I think that's fair to say.
Yeah. Because we're passionate and because we care about it. And I always looked at it like this. If I see somebody that I'm playing with, and you know, I'm talking about high school, not NFL by any means, but if I see somebody I'm playing with or riding with, and we lose, and that person is like, yeah, I don't care, I'm walking off, versus like throwing a helmet and care, like I'll resonate with that. Mm-hmm. You throw your helmet down like Des Bryant because you lost, okay, I can ride with you.
Yeah. Because you're putting your all into it, you're putting your heart and your soul into it. You want to win. And if you fall short of that, man, we all human, so those emotions come out.
Right, and I feel like Philly can resonate with that.
I don't think it's sore loser though. I think it's passion. I think
just don't like being called a sore loser.
I think it's passion.
What did Cam Newton say when he got criticized right after the Super Bowl? He said, "Show me a good loser, and I'm still showing you a loser."
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
I don't think he was a sore loser though. I think he was more so mad at himself that he didn't perform.
I think he was mad that the dude from the winning team was about 50 feet to his left talking about why they were able to beat his ass.
See, you see it from a different perspective.
Well, nobody knew that though, right? Everybody thought he was just being sour because it's Cam Newton, and then like you broaden the picture and you see that the D-back from the Broncos was right there talking about how they knew they could get to Cam and how they knew. Well, I think anybody probably would have felt the same way. Like, get me out of here! I just lost the Super Bowl and I hear some dude bragging in the back of my ear about it.
Right. It's crazy, man. I just randomly bring him up. I don't know if there's a more polarizing is the wrong term. I feel like he's misunderstood, but I don't in sports. Like a guy who can get ripped and praised for doing the same exact thing. Like, how rare is that in sports? Usually it's somebody does something and it would be like an act of violence or trip somebody or knee somebody or something like a cheap shot. But Cam can get on the podium and just forget what he says, but how he says it. And some people will be like, great. I'm glad that he was himself. Other people are like, oh my God, he's a terrible person. And it's like, I've never seen somebody get that type of reaction for doing the same exact thing.
Yeah, man, it's because people watching at home, they want to basically put their thoughts on him. They want him to act how they expect him to act.
Project.
He's his own man. He's gonna be who he wants to be. Just let him live, man.
Let him wear them hats with the feathers in it.
All right. I don't know about the tight with the.
Hey, I can't speak for the skinny jeans.
He be beyond skinny jeans.
Is that right?
He be in capris.
How do you get those on? You gotta lay down on your back.
Lather yourself up.
But do you feel, just going back to what we're talking about with Ab, do you think that when in your days of just being on the road, but also playing for different teams, do you feel like this fan base is misrepresented?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, every time, like every single game that we have on TV, what's the one thing they bring up? Santa Claus. That was so many years ago, and people don't really know the full story behind that.
He was drunk.
Right, exactly. And so
he deserved it.
My
civic duty.
Yeah, there's like way worse fan bases, in my opinion. The Patriots fans are so annoying. Like I can't deal with them. Bama fans are crazy.
Alabama.
Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's people that have been actually killed because they weren't.
Rooting for
They
Alabama.
weren't. Yeah. Like,
Oh, wow.
what? That's crazy. We're talking about a sport here. So, in my opinion, there's way worse. Philly fans are, in my opinion, we love them. I love them.
You brought it up, and some Eitan and I, and we've talked about in the show, Boston, like they have a reputation for really being hard on a lot of different athletes. They also have a reputation for getting a little racial. Have you ever, when you played up there, 2 times, right? Anything ever
Where it's in,
up in
Boston?
Foxborough?
Oh
up in
no,
New England?
I never heard anything like that.
Okay.
I have heard things like that, especially with baseball, but me personally, no.
What's the worst thing somebody ever called you from the stands anywhere outside of Philadelphia?
I don't even. Honestly, I don't even listen
you
to
hear
him.
it?
Like, I don't even hear him. I don't hear him.
Yeah, I think about this. What's the closest y'all have ever sat to on a game, like at a football game? Basketball's different, right? Hockey's
Right.
even a little bit different. I know they have the glass, but I've sat 2 rows, like the second row from where you can hang over. And I remember this was an Eagles-Niners game back in the day. Remember Johnny Morton?
Yeah.
So Johnny Morton is warming up a backup quarterback on the sideline, and we're yelling at him because I think that was post-TO, so it was back to having no wide receivers, and we're just like, "Yo, Johnny, come to Philly, come!" And you could see him crack a smile. But we had to get 5 people yelling at as loud as we possibly can just for him to kind of like acknowledge it. And he's about from where I am to where the camera is, I don't know, like 5-6 feet. It's so loud and there's so much going on. I bet you probably can't even hear that.
Yeah, no, I don't hear it. Even if you do hear it, you just ignore it. If it's something that you
better
if it's
man than
something
me.
you want to hear,
I'll be up in the
just
stands like Ron Artest. Who said that? What's the worst fan base you ever played in front of?
the worst.
Like as far as just either bad fan for a different team. You played 4 squads, right?
Yeah, I hate to say this, but my first year with the Rams, now we didn't win. We won like 2 games.
Right.
But that was probably the most miserable time ever. We
So
were
you're
in the-
actually talking about the St. Louis Rams fans that you were playing for?
Yeah, that was, and it sucks because when we traveled, they traveled well, but at the Edward Jones Dome, it was horrible.
And they
When we
wonder
talking
why
about
they
empty
lost
seats, talking about we had one game we played the Packers. There was more Packer fans in our stadium than Rams fans. Now we didn't win, so it is what it is. But yeah, that wasn't fun.
That's got to be crazy. You ever have that? Just a bad crowd? Not because of y'all, obviously.
Yeah. Very seldom.
Yeah.
Most people that come on there, even if it's like small crowd, 50 people, they rock hard.
Right.
With you. Yeah.
What's the craziest spot internationally you ever did a show?
Internationally, I say I was on the Kanye West tour a few years ago in Australia, and just to be in Australia where it's the plane ride is like 20 hours to get there. I
Can't imagine. What do you do on that plane ride?
Man, listen, you watch every movie that you thought you'd never lay your eyes on. You walk around about 6 times. You sleep for about 8 hours, and you still flying.
Yo, I can't imagine that, right? You got a full night's sleep, and you're still on that
You
damn
still
plane.
flying.
I couldn't do it.
But
No.
to be that far away from home, and then everywhere we went, the fans know the words, sing along with you. You can stop rapping, and they still know the words. It was great to be so far away from home and connect with the people like that. Like,
Especially Australia.
And it was big, it performed in really big stadiums down there. So it was like 18,000, 20,000 people each night. So it was great.
You get a chance to go around too and see the areas.
Oh yeah. Because we would get there usually a day early,
Right.
So we'd get to sightsee and whatnot. Go around to different restaurants and stuff like that, and then rock the next night. So that was great being so far away from home.
Did you get to play in London?
I did.
What
I
was
did.
that like?
It was interesting, man. Like I wasn't expecting. The first thing I remember was the weather. It was real gloomy. But then when we went to London, I had never seen so many Bugattis, Rolls Royces. Like the Benz was a regular car over there.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And then just the fans. I mean, there was a ton of fans that showed up. I was actually surprised. I mean, they showed up to the game. They were doing the soccer chants and all that stuff, but they didn't get it. But they were still having a good time. They was out there partying, man. So I'll never forget that. I'm taking pictures with all these Bugattis and stuff. It's like a regular car over there. Like you see like what a regular Benz is here is like a Bugatti over there.
Yeah,
It was
imagine
crazy.
having that British soccer
Yeah.
player money.
That
That FIFA money right there.